So at this point, we can close the modal if we click the backdrop, but we can't open it again. Now to open it again, I want to add a header component above my list here, which gives me a button that allows me to open this modal. Now I prepared such a component in advance since it won't include any new features we haven't learned about yet. Attached you find a mainHeader.jsx file and a link to the mainHeader.module.css file. And the mainHeader.jsx file simply defines a mainHeader function where I got some JSX code. Now, one noteworthy new thing is in there though. I'm importing some icon components from a third-party library. And at the moment, this library isn't downloaded into this project here. To make sure these icons are available here and this import command here works, you should quit your development server by pressing Ctrl+C, and you should then run npm install react-icons to install this React Icons library into this project. This makes it available as part of your code base, and importing these icon components will then work. And thereafter you can run npm run dev again to bring up that development server again, which you must have up and running as long as you're working on your code. So with that, we got that main header component, and now this main header component should be rendered above this posts list. For that, I'll actually go into the app.jsx file, and in there I'll import main header from components main header, and then return a fragment which wraps this main section and posts list, and render the main header here above the main section. With that, we got this main header here, but this button of course doesn't work yet. To make it work, this button now also needs to set this state that shows or hides the modal. The modal is visible state. However, that state is in the posts list component. But you learned how this problem can be fixed. You can lift the state up. We can cut this state from posts list and move it into the app component. And there we then also must import useState from React to make that useState hook available there. We then also must cut the hideModalHandler function and move that to app. And also already add a new function called showModalHandler, which does the opposite of hideModalHandler. It simply sets modal is visible to true again. And now we just need to make sure that the information, whether the modal should be visible or not, is available in the posts list component. Now to make it available there, we can use props again. We can add a new prop. IsPosting could be the name. You could also stick to modal is visible alternatively. But here I'll use IsPosting as a prop name. And that should be true or false, and I'll use it down there in my conditional rendering code. So if this is true, the modal should be displayed, because if I am posting, I'm working on a new post, so then this form should be displayed. And if it's false, it should not be displayed. And in the app component, we can now set this new IsPosting prop on posts list and simply forward our modal is visible value. So set the value of this state as a value for this prop. And with that, we're passing the information whether the modal should be visible or not to posts list. Of course, now we also must make sure that we can talk into the opposite direction. So if the modal is closed, we wanna trigger hideModalHandler if the backdrop is clicked, for example. And in the main header, if the button is clicked, I wanna show the modal again. Now here in main header, I already do expect to get a onCreatePost prop, which I forward to onClick on that button. So here I want to have a pointer at that function that should make the modal visible. So therefore back in app.jsx, we can add the onCreatePost prop to main header. We can set that prop and set it to showModalHandler, so to this function. So that this function is passed as a value to onCreatePost. And on the posts list component, we could add another prop called onStopPosting. And here pass the hideModalHandler function as a value. Now we just have to make sure that we use this onStopPosting function in posts list, and therefore there, again, we can accept it as a new prop. And then here, for modal, for the onClose prop, we now pass the onStopPosting value to the modal component. So that in the end, the onClose prop of the modal component receives this hideModalHandler function. And passing these different functions across multiple levels of components and passing these different state values around, of course, can be confusing at first. So therefore, it's just important to keep in mind that in the end, we're just passing values around so that in the different components, we can use exactly the values that should be used there. By the way, the fact that my custom props here that take functions as values, like onCreatePost, are called onCreatePost is just a convention I'm following. I could also just name it CreatePost and update the name here in main header, of course. And that would work as well. However, it's a common convention to start with on in your prop name if that prop is receiving a function as a value. To in the end make it clear that this prop won't work with any other value, and in the end will typically link that function that is received as a value to some event listener further down in your JSX component code. However, now with all these changes made, if you save all your code, we can close that modal and we can also open it again. So that's now working. And therefore now back in app.jsx, we can also switch the default for modal is visible from true to false to make sure that initially, if we reload this page, no modal is visible, but if we click that post, we see it. And then there we can still edit and add our text as we need to and update this first post. And therefore that's yet another huge step forward with more state passing across different components. And with that, we're now ready to dive even deeper into React and make sure that we're now not just updating this first post here, but that instead we can really submit that form. And once we do so, we actually edit this list of posts so that we finally can start adding new posts instead of just editing the first one.